You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Hey, welcome back. This is Passing Time, and you're on the clock. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
38, Brian. Season 2 debut. We're coming to you a la remote style, which we don't do very often.
Well, we'll figure out how this works, you know?
Yeah, why is that, Brian? Why are we remote and not hanging out side by side tonight?
Oh man, the blustery winter that is West Michigan right now is killing us. It is blowing.
Let us know where you're watching in the comments, and if you're watching somewhere warm, feel free to tease us. Brian's an educator, obviously, and Brian, tell us about your world famous commute now to work.
So as of Tuesday, there was a 100-car pileup on my way. It would have been my way to work. Now, luckily for myself, I have had snow days the last bunches of days, and got to see that on the news rather than in person. So
yeah. So Stephanie and my wife and I were talking about snow days, and as a kid, snow days are awesome, right? Like, holy cow, we're flushing ice cubes down the toilet the night before. And you wake up to, when we were growing up, you'd watch the news and it would take forever to get to your school district and your particular school. But when it said it was closed, it was like, yeah, school's closed today.
Go.
As parents, it's not that much fun. Logistically, it offers some challenges.
For you, absolutely. For me, I'm just like I was as a kid. I'm looking for my name scrolling across the screen, or that text that comes through. It says, this is my school. This is me. This is it. So
that's what we were talking about. As educators, you get to relive your childhood a little bit, right?
Constantly. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's like waiting for the tooth fairy or whatever. I can tell you my nanny doesn't love it.
I believe that.
It's triple trouble in the morning for her, man. And it's a little earlier, but I always love sending that text message out to her. And she's, hey, Miss Stephanie, if you're watching this, we love you. We need you over here. But it's the sarcastic thumbs up response to, hey, can you come a little earlier and you're going to have all 3 kids?
Oh, yeah. No, we've been spoiled this week. It has been nasty on the road, so make sure you guys stay safe.
Stay safe. You got extra time on your hands. Pass it with us because we are a Detroit Lions podcast.
Let's go.
Super excited. Season 2. Welcome back. Thanks for making season 1 great. Thanks for making us your weekly listen. We appreciate you rocking with us for 37 episodes. Officially, that was kind of a feeling out process. Brian and I didn't know what to do, how to do it. So season 2, it's going to be a calmer, more comfortable ride. We're seasoned Dutch, like that old cast iron pan your parents used to have. They'd break it out for that special chicken they'd make. They don't have to put any seasoning on it because that pan already had everything you needed. And that we are that pan now. We got everything you need right here.
Everything you need.
So new season, same grit over here. Brian, what are we going to talk about today?
All right. So, obviously we're going to start off and talk about the newest addition to the Detroit Lions, our OC, and figure out my reactions, Rob's reactions, and we're going to ask for your reactions as well.
Yeah, talk about some guys that we didn't hire that were still available at the time of our hire. Different staff movement, free agents, Bill's bullet points. Bill,
it's there. He's still here. We're still pulling him in. We're getting closer.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. That's my wife's occupation. Is Prozac like an antidepressant, or I don't even know what that is? He needs a little antidepressant. I feel like, and I'm teasing that a little bit, but Brian, you're going to have a lot more to offer on that.
We'll get into that, yeah.
We're going to talk about look around the NFL. There's 4 teams left. It feels a little anticlimactic, Brian.
The 2 top teams are there, and we'll see who makes it all their way to the Super Bowl. But I don't know. Seahawks are looking fantastic. The Rams are scraping themselves by, and the Broncos have a broken ankle or something. So
yeah. Hey, stop teasing it. Come on, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Segment 1. Here we go. Lions offseason. Obviously, Drew Petzing is our new offensive coordinator, hand selected by Dan Campbell. Brian, I want to hear your, it's not so instant reaction. We can't lie. This is the news once. we've been hearing about for 4 or 5 days now. But
this is our first time jumping into this, talking about what's going to happen next and how the Lions have responded. And Drew Petzing, to me, right away was a disappointment. It was a frustration. I wanted the shiny new thing. I wanted the big name. I wanted the Mike McDaniel, the mad scientist that was on the offensive play calling side. That's who I wanted. And we got a guy that everybody kind of stopped and like kind of tilted your head and asked yourself, who? I can't lie. I didn't know the name before it was announced. I didn't know that the Lions had any interest. I didn't look into him. I didn't even know he was the OC of the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, yeah. Well, so I like this. You're keeping it raw. We'll get into like what we've learned now and maybe our cooling down process. Brian, with that in mind, I can think of one name that was a sexy hire for Dan Campbell. Beyond that, it's been a lot of not sexy hires. Can you, like, what has been a sexy hire in the past coaching hires for the Detroit Lions?
For the Detroit Lions, there hasn't been, right? And that's, there's a bit of scariness to that because in reality, I mean, if you think about our track record, we got one of them really right? Ben Johnson was right. And you look at Anthony Lynn and he was not. And you look at John Morton and he was not. So timeout. Go ahead, Rob.
20-second timeout. Aaron Glenn was a home run hire. Got hired away.
Yep.
And that was a sexy hire at the time. They were Aaron Glenn was considered a guy that could be interviewed for head coaching jobs or get any defensive coordinator job that was out there. It felt like a Brian Flores type, like real sexy hire at the time. I would argue that, it's pretty fortunate that the Lions have had two coordinators get hired away for head coaching jobs. That means you're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in this year, if you look at Kelvin Sheppard getting interviews from the Miami Dolphins, and we may touch on that a bit in the future, but we have guys getting looks, whether it's in the front office or it's on the coaching staff. So that's a testament to what the Lions have been doing, and they've been doing it right. Now, in saying that, the offensive side of the ball has been teeter-tottering back and forth. If the continued record goes, if the continued pattern goes, then we should get this one right? I mean, that's how it should look.
Brian, in our lifetimes, we've gone to know really good bosses, right? We've gotten to know our parents have made really good choices. The people around us that like we really love and respect, they seem to make a lot of good choices, but nobody's been perfect. But if you get a do-over at certain things, usually a really thoughtful leader of men, leader of people type person on a do-over introspectively make a better hire, right? So like you and I have been big Dan Campbell fans, leader of men, somebody that's bringing in the right people most of the time. I feel like he's got his chance at redemption here, and it wasn't the sexy hire that he was looking for. He was looking for the right hire.
Well, I hope so. I'm going to use a Rob-like analogy here and say, hey, we had a sexy girlfriend, she broke up with us, So what do we do when we go out right after that girl that just broke up with us and breaks our heart is we go out and rebound, right? So we go out and we try to find a rebound. And that girl typically is the opposite of the girl that broke up with us. It's not the right fit. It is ultimately not what we need in order to help us grow beyond where we're at right now, right? So after
I like this.
After that short-term rebound, that kind of fizzles out and goes away, and we recognize what's right for us and what we actually need, and hoping. Listen, I am still a true Lions fan. I still love our Lions. I wish that they would just follow Brian Michaels' route to success because, hey, as a Lions fan, I know, right? In my armchair couch and sitting there yelling at the TV. But ultimately, I'm hoping that the Lions made the right pick. I hope that they adjusted after their rebound girlfriend, and now they're on to the right path.
I'm feeling you now. Like I'm ready for the tables have turned. We left Brian in his own basement today, and he's really feeling that vibe, that Flairmont vibe that I've given him. I like that analogy. I agree with it a lot, and it sounds like you've turned that corner a little bit, and are seeing a little bit of maybe what I see.
I will tell you, man. I will tell you, I'm still disappointed. I'm still like wishing that we had that sexy hire, wishing we had the mad genius, and wishing we had Mike McDaniel, but we don't. And now I'm going to have to adjust and find my way in order to accepting the fact that Drew Petzing's the guy.
Yeah, yeah. So you're disappointed, like, the buddy of the guy that had the rebound girl that he really liked because she was crazy and she could knock back 12 Coronas and stay out with the boys till 3 a.m. And you're sad because like that was a fun person. And now your buddy found the woman that he wants to be with for the rest of his life, and he wants to have 3 kids and not stay out past 7:30. So you're a little bit sad, like, oh, man, I'm gonna miss that crazy woman that was a lot of fun. Now we're just gonna have to get married and win the Super Bowl and
Yeah, that'd be
call
great.
it good.
That'd be great. And that's where I'm at right now. We're at a wait and see.
All right.
So,
So
we'll wait and see.
while we're waiting and while we're seeing, Brian, can you put a little color to this offensive coordinator hire? Tell us a little bit about maybe who he learned from, where he came from,
Sure.
and maybe kind of what his style is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the guy learned from a plethora of great coaches: North Turner, Pat Shermer, Gary Kubiak, Bill Callahan, Kevin Stefanski. He is boys with Ben Johnson. He was in Ben Johnson's wedding. So we have a plethora of guys, and he's still connected to Hank Fraley. So there's those guys that he's attached to, and that is probably part of what made him a fit in Detroit. But if you look at what Arizona fans have been saying, or if you look at what their writers have been saying, they're a little bit happy that he's gone, and that to me is a little bit concerning. Even though I know the situation Arizona's been in, I mean, they've been this last year dwindling. I mean, their team has dwindled because of injury, and I don't know. I just don't see him being the home run hire that I was hoping for. So we'll see. It's still a wait and see.
All right. So what's kind of his focus? Like what's his reputation so far?
Okay, so he is known for a run-focused game plan. He loves the 12 and 13 personnel, getting tight ends in the game, and making sure that we have a lot of hats to the ball. So he seems to be someone that really would fit and mesh well with Dan Campbell.
Okay. Trey McBride, where did he rank among tight ends last year in the NFL?
Hey, he did well. I mean, he was one of the, you looked at fantasy football, and he was one of the top picks in fantasy football because they featured the tight end, and he was one of the main threats and main weapons within that offense. Now, you wonder, is that because he loved featuring the tight end, or is that because that was their biggest weapon, and Marvin Harrison isn't all we think that he is? So
let's backtrack that a little bit. He was the Browns tight end coach before that.
mm-hmm.
Browns drafted a guy named David Njoku, drafted him high. He was their version of like a Brandon Pettigrew, who the Lions had, that had a ton of potential, untapped. Eric Ebron, a ton of potential, untapped. But when he came on board, I think 2 years after they drafted him, he really mentored him, and he turned him into a Pro Bowl tight end. He goes down and it works wonders with Trey McBride, who had a lot of untapped potential as well. I think Trey McBride was a former second-round NFL draft pick, didn't really do much his first year, second year middling, and now he's a superstar. So I think, stock up for Sam Laporta.
Absolutely, and you hope that he is able to do, one, get healthy, and two, be able to build on what he's already built on. I will say that if we're going to run 12 and 13 personnel, though, which is 3 tight ends, 1 running back, that we're going to need to look at that either in free agency or the draft.
No doubt about it. Yeah, the Lions really just have 1 tight end who's coming off injury. Speaking of that, David Njoku is a free agent.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to hear his name around the Lions. So
yeah, I think he's a guy who's coming off a injury-plagued season, a couple ho-hum years, that might be willing to gamble on himself, take a 1-year deal, reunite with his boy, and say, "Hey, feed me." So what else? What else about this hire here?
I mean, the guy's an experienced play caller, had some success calling plays against teams that maybe the Lions have struggled against. You look at teams like the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Vikings. If you look at this past year, Flores had our number. We could not figure him out. And I know that Drew Petzing has had some success, running out their offense, running the ball, and being able to have answers for a Flores defense, which I think is appealing to a guy that's going to come into the NFC North.
Yeah. Anything else?
Had some basic concepts in the pass game. It seems they like to keep it simple. I would like to see a little bit more rub and pick along the ways, get guys open. But from what I saw, and I watched a 2024 Arizona Green Bay game to see hey, what am I looking at here? And I did see a lot of 12, 13 personnel. I did see a lot of gun, a lot of play action, and a lot of pin pull run scheme where we got guys pulling, we got guys pinning down. I did see some zone scheme as well. And James Conner had an okay day. Now the Green Bay Packers won that game, but there was some success along the ways in figuring some things out.
Yeah. So he obviously loses his job. Jonathan Gannon loses his job. Gannon's known as he's a defensive guy, but a very conservative defensive guy. I looked at him, and he's also a bit of a control freak, from what I understand. So potentially is handcuffing, his offensive play caller a little bit. I mean, also talk about the Arizona Cardinals last year, a terrible offensive line. They graded out in the bottom 5 in the NFL on the O-line. Old and hurt running backs. So they didn't have much help in the run game. They actually, at the end of the season, were featuring, I can't recall his name, a guy that couldn't make the Lions roster as the 4th stringer a couple years ago. Really cool name. It'll come to me. They took Marvin Harrison 2nd overall 2 years ago. He's had a very ho-hum start to his career. People are citing work ethic, being the son of a Hall of Famer potentially. Feels like he doesn't have to earn it.
Yeah.
There's 5'6" and overrated, likes video games. Wasn't really working out there. They were kind of hiding him in the past. He's a guy that I'll be curious to see where he pops up, going forward. Went back to Jacoby, who was his boy in Cleveland after the massage parlor saga sideline our boy. And Brissett had a good year in Cleveland under him. He had a good year in Arizona last year. Matter of fact, if you took his time in Arizona last year and you gave him a full season, he'd be in the Pro Bowl. He was really putting up big numbers. Also, free agent. I know the Lions are potentially looking for a backup quarterback. That would be an elite backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And, I guess some people are saying that maybe Gannon had too much say. He was trying to protect his defense. He was forcing him to run the ball behind a bad offensive line. So it sounds like I'm putting a lot of excuses out there, but who knows? Maybe he didn't get his fair shake. And sometimes, if you're if you're the best driver, you're, I don't know driving, but you're Mario Andretti or Jeff Gordon, who, we grew up with as these names of driving. If they put him in, Brian's minivan, right? And they had him racing against race cars, even the best drivers aren't going to be able to compete, right? But now they're putting him in a Ferrari. Right, so you're going to find out quick.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, and that's where I'm a wait and see. We'll have to figure it out. We'll have to see how it goes. We're not going to know anything on how he is going to perform with a Lions offense until preseason.
I can't wait. Yeah, so we'll get some sound bites. We'll get some talking points, and he'll probably compare and contrast. You'll get a little bit out of Dan, not a whole lot out of Dan. Hopefully you kind of hear Dan just say, "Hey, he's turning over the complete reins," but it's going to be Dan Campbell style offense. He's still gonna be pushing it, right? He's going to be kind of directing the game plan there, but letting a different person call the plays and give the focus.
Yep, and you'll see the Lions continue to do what they do. They're going to continue to run the ball on 3rd down, and they're going to try to get into 4th and manageable. They're going to still go for it more than you would want them to do at some times, but they're going to be aggressive. This is still a Dan Campbell-led team, and this is going to still be I think it's still going to be a successful in top 10 offense, if not better. So we're still going to see successes. They have they have the bones, they have the players, they have the horses in order to perform. You just wish that everything would have come together in order to make this elite.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever heard my my curling analogy before?
Yeah, I'm sure. No, maybe.
No. Okay. So we got the Winter Olympics coming up, right? This is
Yeah.
gonna make a good short. We got the Winter Olympics coming up, okay? And there's a sport, and audience, you know, it's curling. You have this big puck, right? And you push it down the ice, and the person that gets to push that puck down the ice, he can push it until a certain line, and he's got to let it go. And he's got to know how hard he's got to push it and which direction he wants to kind of send it to. After he lets it go, there's a series of sweepers over there, and they get to sweep the ice to kind of direct it around different things and to the center or to block something out, okay? So Dan Campbell is the pusher, right? He's going to push the offense. He's got the puck, right? And Dan Campbell last year was taking the puck and he was pushing it. And he was running down there with two sweepers and trying to do it all by himself. And that's very, very hard to do. He's got a series of great sweepers right now. He's got a new offensive coordinator that's a proven play caller, a proven guy. He's got Jared Goff, a veteran quarterback, very good. He's got a team of sweepers. Dan Campbell knows how hard he's got to push them, and he's got to go in there and he's got to trust his sweepers to direct that puck to the center of the ice.
I don't disagree. And now it's going to be contingent on what they do in order to continue to put weapons around Drew Petzing and Jared Goff in order to be successful. And I'm thinking it's going to start with that offensive line. And I think that we've talked about this from the middle of last season on until now in the offseason. We have question marks across that board now. We have rookies that now are in their second year. We have still a all-pro right tackle that could be able to be flexible. We have question marks at left tackle. We have question marks at center. And to be honest with you, I still have question marks at that left guard. And we'll see how bringing back Mahogany and bringing back Frazier and maybe bringing in some competition could push those guys to be a little bit better.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. And I think you and I are going to exhaust that talk this offseason. You are going to hear it. You're going to hear draft notes, free agent notes. We're going to go through the list of everybody that's available, everybody that could be available, and both the draft and free agency. So that's going to be an interesting saga to follow. There is no doubt that that's the most pressing need for our Detroit Lions.
No doubt.
Let's talk about some candidates that didn't get the job, Brian.
Right.
And I know you already touched on Mike McDaniel.
He's going on to the LA Chargers. The Lions claimed him as not a fit. And we'll see how he goes in LA. You know, he gets the warm weather. He gets to hang out with Jim Harbaugh. And we'll see what kind of success he has with Justin Herbert.
Yeah. And actually, they just lost their defensive coordinator there, too.
That's
We'll
right.
get into that in a second. No Mike Kafka. That was kind of a guy that I was cheerleading a little bit. He was kind of my number 2 favorite.
He was definitely my number 2 favorite as well. I liked his creativity. And that's one thing that I think that I might be hung up on a little bit still with the Drew Petzing is I haven't seen a ton of that creativity. I'm hoping Dan can bring part of that out of him. But yeah, I saw, when Mike played against the Lions with, backup quarterbacks and backup running backs and backup wide receivers and still had success. So I loved what he was able to bring in that type of realm and still have the ability to expose what the Lions had. So
yeah. How depressed would you and Bill be if Arthur Smith was the hire?
Yeah, that wasn't one of my top 2 by no means. So I don't know if that was one of the guys that had success against the Lions. I just want to pick his mind and figure out what the heck we did wrong. So maybe that was more of a, hey, Kelvin Sheppard, why don't you be sitting in on this interview rather than Jared Goff or Dan Campbell. So
yeah, well, Arthur Smith tore us up. Mike Kafka tore us up, right? Like, those 2 guys. With not much, right? Like
with not much.
Yeah. Zach Robinson, T. Martin, Tommy Reese, David Shaw. We're missing anybody out there?
Yeah. The Jake Peets from the Seattle Seahawks was like on the radar. Even David Blau that ended up going to the Commanders was on the radar. So you look at some of these guys, and it wasn't for a lack of looking that the Lions ended up siding with Drew Petzing. It wasn't like they just went rogue and signed a guy a couple days after they got rid of John Morton. They did their due diligence. They talked to a plethora of names, and they found what they believe was the best fit. Now is Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes kind of like hitching their wagon to this particular hire? I mean, that's a concern or a question. I mean, I hope they get it right. I just hope that they have this figured out.
Of course you're hitching your wagon to the hire, right? Like, I mean, that hire becomes it's now your reputation, right? So, I don't know if it's another bad hire, if that puts Dan Campbell in the hot seat or anything like that. But we talked about a window, and you don't want to spoil that window. So this was a very, very important hire. You keep making bad hires, and then all of a sudden, the fingers are going to really start pointing at you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where we're at. I mean, we have an open window. We've talked about it before, is that this window is wide open. It's a sliding glass door with guys that we have here, with the bones that we've built, the Brad Holmes built bones, right? And we hope that we can just put them in the right place.
Brad Holmes built bones. Okay.
I might cut that. I don't know.
We don't edit here.
That's true.
All right. So let's talk about Kelvin Sheppard a little bit. He interviewed with the Dolphins. It's a guy that we talked about that, could have potentially been replaced. It sounds like the Lions are standing with him. He's getting, an interview. I don't know how serious that interview was. There's certain things in the NFL where you got to interview certain people, and that could have been one of those types of interviews. Though, he's a dynamic human being, and an up-and-coming coach. I think, being a first-time coordinator was a big jump for him. So I don't know if he's quite ready to. I'd be pretty disappointed if he was promoted to Lions head coach or something like that. If Campbell walked away, because I think that's. But anyways, he interviewed. He didn't he's not getting the job. But a lot of teams did hire head coaches, and there was a lot of coaches that were out there that with vast resumes.
I mean, and still have vast resumes that haven't been hired. There's a lot of jobs still available. This is unprecedented in the NFL right now. Was there 10 plus? Was there 10? There was 10 head coaching jobs open this year. It's hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah. Yeah, so Giants hired John Harbaugh. It's one of those hires that, like, after you flounder for a period of years and you're not getting things right, like, all right, we're going to bring in a guy that's got almost 20-year track record of doing the right thing, being around a winning culture that can build that. If this doesn't work, it's the curse of the Giants.
Right. And the Giants have some young talent, and they have a lot of those pieces that are just close to breaking out. Jackson Dart, Scattaboo, Neighbors. You have a pretty tough defensive line. You have some pieces there that you find the right coach in order to point them in the right direction, and they could go.
Yeah. Don't say Scattaboo before Neighbors. All right.
Oh, fair.
I mean, he might
That's
be
fair.
He's a very poor man's David Montgomery. So he's not enticing people to come there. And also he's going to be injured. They have a young quarterback, right? On a rookie deal, which is very attractive.
But they have this young core of fun guys that seem like they love football, and ultimately, when you have guys that are motivated, that all want to be next to each other, and there's something to say there. There's something that you can, like, you push the right buttons and they could go for you.
Yeah. Atlanta Falcons, I think this was a sneaky good hire, Brian.
Yeah.
Kevin Stefanski.
I think he got himself out of a disaster, got himself into something that's like pretty intriguing. You have a young quarterback that hopefully he can stay healthy. You have one of the top 3 running backs in all of the NFL. You have weapons. So
also Kyle Pitts is a free agent for teams looking for free agent tight ends. And I don't know if that's fitting the budget for the Lions. Young nucleus. They have 2 solid quarterbacks there, so obviously,
And Kirk Cousins restructured his deal. That's a sneaky move as well in order to open up some cap space.
Yeah, Penix, that's his 3rd ACL, right? So you just don't know what's going to happen there. So they got Cousins. Tennessee Titans, Brian?
Hey, I like Robert Saleh. I think he is a tough, good hire. I think there's some bones there as well with the Titans. Cam Ward might be their franchise quarterback. We'll see if he can stay healthy. And if they can put the pieces together, they got some cap space, they got some draft capital, they got some things in order to build. And Robert Saleh's, I like what he can bring.
A couple of years ago, Salah was coaching the Jets, and we were sitting down watching the game with a couple of friends of the pod, Steve and Tyler. Shout out to you guys. And Tyler pointed out that Robert Saleh is a very good-looking guy, and he said, "Man, if he wasn't married in New York, he'd be doing great with the ladies." So every time I hear the name, I think of that quote, and we tease Tyler forever on that. So love you, kid.
And
Miami Dolphins.
Sorry, Saleh is a Michigan native, and not only that, but he was like going through that coaching hire when we hired Dan Campbell. So it was one of the guys I was like, I would love to have seen Robert Saleh in the Honolulu Blue, but I'm glad that we got Dan.
Yeah, he's probably a sexier hire to you back then, but we had to go with that boring one, kind of like we just did with the OC.
I mean, he was really attractive. So
Dolphins, Jeff Hadley.
Well, I'm glad that he's out of Green Bay. It just puts them back in a cycle. So, I mean, if he can cause some disruption in the Packer land, then I'm okay with that.
The Baltimore Ravens made a hire today.
Yeah, Jesse Minter, Chargers DC. So it's just one of those, is he going to be an up and coming? Is he going to be able to handle a franchise like the Baltimore Ravens, who have had some success? And you hear Lamar Jackson kind of clamoring for OCs now. Is it Cliff Kingsbury? Is he coming in there in order to help support them? What are we going to see there?
Cliff was my number one choice, as you know. I wasn't a Mike McDaniel guy, but the Ravens getting Jesse Minter, they go back. They keep that identity of just a defensive focused team.
Yep.
And if they can go out and get an offensive coordinator that just like runs the show there, that could be a really good balance. It's got to be a very attractive job to an OC to have a DC as a head coach and say, hey, you run this. I'm going to focus on that a little bit.
Right.
Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian.
Yeah, well, you got some question marks. So Mike McCarthy has been in interviews with them. Brian Flores, who is still kind of connected to the Steelers, who signed an extension with the Minnesota Vikings, but still is kind of in the running for some of these head coaching positions. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what the Steelers do.
Okay. We'll round it out. If you got thoughts on any one of these teams, just for time's sake. The Browns open job, the Cardinals open job, the Raiders open job with the number one pick, and the Buffalo Bills, which has got to be a dang attractive job.
It's probably the most attractive of the ones left, and you just wonder who are they going to bring in order to push them over the hump. If you're going to fire McDermott in order to bring somebody new in to kind of reset things, you're going to hope they get like instant success.
Yeah. Sean McDermott, I don't know if he's putting his name out there, but the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Steelers would be foolish not to have him as 1A on that list. I mean, that was just, in my opinion, just a terrible firing.
Terrible fire.
All right. So let's get into Bill's bullet points, Brian.
All right. So Bill was not happy with the hiring of Drew Petzing. He has been a Lions fan his whole life, and he is just wanting to bring a championship to this town. His roller coaster continues, so it's funny. He texted me. He's like, I saw Alex Anzalone's tweet, and he's like, he could be coming back. I was on a high, and then I heard that we hired Drew Petzing. So he was also on the Mike McDaniel train, the Mad Genius train, the bring the best name into even for just 1 year into the Detroit Lions. And so he just doesn't see the fit. He believes that Drew Petzing is a pro style or offensive coordinator, that he's going to run more of a pro style offense, and he doesn't see Goff as more of a pro style quarterback. He breaks down a little bit of the scheme that's going on with Drew Petzing, and he thinks he's going to put Goff into some spots where he's going to have to make perfect throws. So it just puts a little bit more pressure on him, and in hopes that there's more that come. he does like the run game. He does appreciate the 13 and 12 personnel, but he's like, man, that's going to put some pressure on bringing some of those free agents in or drafting some capital, spending some draft capital on some of those guys because our tight end room is thin. You have Laporta coming off injury. You have Brock Wright, who is, I would say, middle tier, and our rest of the room is kind of thin.
So he doesn't think Goff's a pro style quarterback.
He does not. He does not feel like that's as good of a fit. I love Goff in under center. I love Goff in play action. I love Goff pre-snap. I want Goff to be able to dissect and make intermediate throws, and that's where I guess I differ with Bill, because I think that he is going to bring in these intermediate throws, these middle level throws, these crossing patterns, and some abilities to get Goff some success there. So
yeah, I agree with you there. I think Goff is a pro style quarterback. I guess what I worry about a little bit is he didn't feature the wide receiver a whole lot in Arizona. He didn't have the wide receiver. He did a decent job with a terrible offensive line in the running game. I'm just worried that we feed Laporta so much, and we have these two elite wide receivers and one budding guy that I think could be one of the better number 3 wide receivers in the NFL. And those guys are taking a back seat to Sam Laporta. No disrespect to Sam Laporta. I think he's a great tight end. I just think you got Corvettes in the garage, right? And you're gonna drive your Jeep every day, and it's reliable. But man, you got Amon-Ra, you got JMO over there. And to that point, though, in Cleveland, he had Odell, and Odell's best season as a Brown was there with Petzing. So he's featured some of those guys. Maybe just Arizona didn't have the tools.
So that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I had to look it up quick because I'm like, all right, who are the Arizona wide receivers?
Michael Wilson,
Marvin Harrison, and who's the next one?
Who's the next one?
Yeah, right? So
don't do it to me.
Greg Dork.
Oh yeah.
And Zay Jones. Xavier Weaver. These are guys that I'm sorry, I didn't know. So if I'm going to say that those are my wide receivers and I have 3, my personnel in regards to tight end, my tight end room is better, then that's what I'm going to feature. I'm hoping, I'm trying to convince myself that this is going to be okay. So
yeah. While you got your Google machine up and you're looking at that, who is that running back they're featuring at the end of the year that he's got an interesting name, like a cool name, that was cut from the Lions a few years back? I mean,
Bam Knight.
Bam Knight, yeah. So
I remember Bam Knight.
Yeah, I mean, he could make the Lions, and all of a sudden he's a feature back, and that's a hard thing, and running behind a terrible offensive line, because James Conner was hurt early, and Trey Benson was hurt, and they had some bad luck over there. All right, so Brian, let's round this show off with let's talk about the games coming up this weekend. All right.
Oh, we got a couple games. We got the NFC and the AFC championship games, Seahawks and Rams, and the Broncos and Patriots. Who do you got, Rob?
Who do I got? So honestly, this is going to be a hot take here, but I think the winner of the Seahawks-Rams game will be your Super Bowl champion.
Okay. Wow.
In that game.
Okay, I can see that.
I have a hard time betting against the Seahawks. I think they just are playing really good defense. They have a really balanced offense, though Charbonnet is now hurt. But Kenneth Walker,
solid.
I've always thought he was the better running back. It's nice to have two guys to give each other a break, but they weren't featuring Kenneth Walker in the red zone, and all of a sudden Charbonnet goes down and Kenneth Walker has 3 touchdowns. He's a really good. They got the rich people problems that we talked about a while back.
Yeah.
So Seahawks Rams, winner of that game wins the Super Bowl. I like the Seahawks there. Broncos Patriots, obviously not a hot take at all. If the Broncos are fully healthy, I like the Broncos in that game. You're missing. It's a quarterback driven league. You're missing your quarterback. You might as well tie 2 hands behind their backs. Isn't going to be able to beat a really stingy Patriots defense. The Patriots are going to grind them out. You're going to see a Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl, and the Seahawks are going to make it uninteresting.
Yeah, I can see that. I would love to root for the Rams. I'd love to see them pull something out of their hat and see Stafford play better than he's played the last couple games. But the Seahawks defense is just good.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like, if the Seahawks win it, maybe like the best team in the NFL won it, or it was a sexy playoff season. But it feels a little bit like, and I don't know if this is a Lions fan talking, or I'm really trying to put my general hat on here, that like it's pretty anticlimactic set of teams.
Right.
Like not super exciting.
I hear you. But you add in maybe a Bills, and you got yourself some sexier picks. Going there. The Bills have never won it before, but you got a bunch of teams that have been there before and taken away the championships.
Yeah, there's no doubt on that. Brian, anything else for the 6th episode that you want to touch on?
No, I do want to say I will be. Possibly Rob will be as well, going on Talking Grit this coming Tuesday around 9:00, and some guys that we've had on before, they've had us on, and good guys doing a podcast and having a good time in the off season. So take a look at that, check that out, get back to us, tell us all the good things. So
I'm hedging here to all our tens of fans. I'm just having a newborn and doing a lot of things. So I said, Brian, is that going to be our episode for the week? He's like, no, we can still do it. I saw him like, well, I don't know if I got the time to talk to Grit. They're good guys. We have a lot of fun with them. They've been on our podcast. We've been on their podcast. Yeah. Actually, I have not been on
You
their
have
podcast.
not.
I declined that. So check them out. Follow that podcast. They're friends of the show. And we'll be on next week as well. Season 2, bringing the heat. This is going to be a long off season. I'm really looking forward to just breaking down this and exposing the foundation and trying to build it back up.
Yep. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of dominoes yet to fall, and we'll see where the Lions take it, where Brad Holmes takes this, where Dan Campbell takes this. We got a lot of question marks. Is there going to be some restructuring of contracts? Is there going to be free agency? How's that look? And then we're going to get in the draft. I mean, this is fun stuff. Like Rob said in the past, I mean, this is where we live. This is where we thrive.
Yeah, I think we're going to be the off-season champions of podcasting. Some places are taking months off, and Brian and I are going to dig in. We're going to give you our hot takes, well researched, and also dumb enough to have debate, right? So like that's the zone that we like to fall into. So off-season's heating up. Expectations are heating up. This is the start of season 2. We thank you for passing time with us. We are a Detroit Lions Talk. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
Cheers to you guys.